A group of palace maids were scrubbing pickle jars when a man suddenly noticed something interesting. He raised his telescope and carefully observed the maids at work. Inspiration struck him at once, and thus, the very first generation traditional costume was born. The queen fell in love with the new clothing immediately. The skirt looked like a floral carpet, the sleeves were elegant and graceful, and the design was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Everyone was amazed at how regal and exquisite the queen looked. Naturally, the masterpiece came from the skilled hands of the court tailor, Kong Jin, whose designs were bold, unique, and full of life. Seeing how elegant the palace maid's clothes were, Dongko wanted a dress that would stand out. In ancient Joseon, the royal family's garments were made exclusively by the palace tailor house, which had a very traditional mindset. Their clothes were all of one standard size. Short people looked like walking brooms, while tall ones looked as if their sleeves would burst. Then Kong Jin picked up a pair of scissors, snipped the sleeves to expose the hands, and trimmed the hem to a perfect length. Still unsatisfied, he thought Dongko's shoulders weren't broad enough, so he placed steamed buns from a nearby girl under his sleeves, instantly making his arms look stronger and fuller. When the new king ascended the throne, he urgently needed a ceremonial robe. The palace tailor house, overwhelmed and exhausted, accidentally knocked over the work table, ruining the entire garment. The queen begged Yukjin to repair it, but one day wasn't enough time. Dongko boldly promised he could finish it overnight. Kong Jin immediately got to work, designing and sewing tirelessly through the night. By morning, the robe was perfectly done. When the king put it on, he was delighted, saying it fit even better than before, more comfortable, more refined. He then asked Kong Jin to design an official robe for him as well. But Kong Jin's heart was filled only with thoughts of the queen. Even the clouds in the skies seemed to take her shape. He wanted to make clothes only for her. As he pondered, the laughter of the palace maids cleaning the pickle jars sparked another wave of inspiration. Unbelievably, the design for the Korean queen's gown was inspired by those very jars. After repairing the royal robe, Kong Jin wanted to leave the palace and regain his freedom. But a single phoenix-embroidered gown belonging to the queen changed his mind. For the woman he loved, what did freedom matter? So Kong Jin returned to the palace to create the new ceremonial robe. Yukjin believed royal garments should strictly follow tradition, but Kong Jin introduced new patterns, adjusting sleeve openings, waistlines, and hems. The king loved his design and couldn't stop praising it. He even declared that Kong Jin would henceforth make clothes only for the king and queen. Once again, as Kong Jin watched the maids at work, inspiration struck, and he made 2 new dresses for the queen. She joyfully wore one to see the king, but outside his chamber, she saw 2 pairs of shoes. Heartbroken, she quietly turned away. Kong Jin thought the dress displeased her and comforted the queen, promising to make her another. But she sighed, "What's the use of beautiful clothes if the king won't even look at me?" Not knowing how to ease her sorrow, Kong Jin took her boating on the lake. The bright sunlight reminded the queen of her youth, the time when the current king was still a prince, and they fell in love at first sight. Marrying him had been her lifelong dream. Now that her dream had come true, the king's coldness left her lost and heartbroken. When they returned, the sky that had been clear suddenly poured rain. It turned out that yesterday was the day Lady So-hee, the left chancellor's daughter, entered the palace. This woman was ruthless. On her wedding night, she barged into the royal study, stripped naked before all the ministers, and made the king laugh wildly. Even her father, the left chancellor, was pleased. Now, the ministers urged the king to depose the queen and make So-hee the new royal consort. The queen's position was in grave danger. The king's cruelty wasn't new. Even as a prince, he was heartless. When his younger brother wanted beef, he chewed it up himself and spat out scraps for him. Later, when his brother's beloved girl was selected as a potential crown princess, the elder brother ensured she became his own bride. To humiliate his brother further, he rewarded him with another woman the younger one had once loved, turning love into pity. The proud prince could not bear it. Years later, that same younger brother overthrew his cruel sibling, became king himself, and the woman he once lost became his queen. Yet in his heart, the king saw her as nothing more than that chewed-up piece of meat, a symbol of his shame. The king had never once touched the queen. When Kong Jin heard this, he felt both pity and anger. Who could have imagined that the woman he cared for had suffered such a miserable fate? And now, a powerful rival in the palace was constantly humiliating her. Kong Jin secretly vowed to help the queen keep her position. He then sought out a famous courtesan and asked how she managed to remain favored among so many young and beautiful women. The courtesan replied that men always preferred fresh, pretty girls, new faces. That phrase, new girls, kept echoing in Kong Jin's mind. To protect the queen's position, Kong Jin came up with an idea. He approached one of the young palace maids close to the king and designed a dress for her, free of charge. As expected, the next day the king noticed the girl immediately. Overnight, she rose in rank and became a royal concubine. Soon, all the other palace maids began to seek out Kong Jin, hoping that with one of his dresses they too could turn from wild hens into phoenixes. And indeed, many were favored by the king because of his designs. The king was so delighted with the beautiful garments that he wore new ones every night. Kong Jin's fame spread throughout the land. From nobles to commoners, women lined up in front of his workshop. Everyone wanted to wear his dresses, dazzling and colorful, full of life. But his success dealt a heavy blow to Minister Zhao, the official royal tailor, who couldn't accept that a mere countryside seamstress had outshone him. Meanwhile, the king's behavior grew more indulgent. To resist the minister's control, he spent each night with a different maid as a silent protest, a lifestyle of pleasure that enraged Lady So-hee. She began to lash out at the palace maids, teaching them harsh lessons. Unfortunately, this scene was witnessed by the queen, who seized the opportunity to suppress So-hee and remind her who truly ruled the harem. Humiliated, So-hee turned to her father, the left chancellor, for help. The next day, the chancellor led a group of officials to the court to demand justice for his daughter. However, not all ministers sincerely supported him. The king, unwilling to confront his ministers, reluctantly agreed when they ordered him to reorganize the Royal Tailor House. Master Yukjin, still holding a grudge, burned all of Kong Jin's new designs in a fit of jealousy. Watching his creations consumed by fire, Kong Jin was heartbroken and soon left the palace in despair. Not long after, envoys from the Qing Empire arrived. According to Qing protocol, if the Joseon royal couple did not appear together, the king's legitimacy would not be recognized. But since the king and queen had long lived apart, the chancellor urged that the queen be deposed and replaced by his daughter, So-hee. For the second time, the chancellor aimed to control the throne through his family. The king, though reluctant, had no choice but to comply. Excited by the prospect of becoming the new queen, So-hee commissioned the kingdom's most renowned tailor, Master Zhao, to create her coronation gown. She vowed to be the most beautiful woman at the royal banquet. When the queen heard that she was to be dethroned, she shut herself away in tears, knowing she would never win the king's heart again. She decided not to attend the banquet. The sorrowful queen, who had never shared true affection with her husband, grew colder and more distant. Determined to prevent the Qing envoys from witnessing her humiliation, Kong Jin persuaded her to attend the banquet and promised to create the most beautiful dress she had ever worn, one that would preserve her dignity and her throne. At the same time, So-hee turned to Master Zhao, famed as the greatest tailor under heaven. And so, two legendary designers, Kong Jin and Zhao, each began working for their own queen. One fought to protect beauty, the other to preserve power. Both poured every ounce of their skill into this final battle of creation. Both sides were determined to create the perfect ceremonial gown. But the more obsessed they became, the deeper they fell into exhaustion and despair. One day, the aging royal tailor, Master Zhao, who had long struggled to produce anything innovative, visited Kong Jin's residence. Seeing the floor covered with countless sketches and discarded drafts, he sighed deeply. Returning home, he pieced together fragments of Kong Jin's abandoned designs, combining and modifying them until he produced a strikingly unique purple gown. When his assistants saw it, they were full of praise. Master Zhao felt confident that his creation would win the day. At the grand ceremony, Lady So-hee appeared in the purple gown designed by Master Zhao. The crowd gasped in admiration. She immediately became the center of attention. As she walked toward the queen's throne, victory seemed certain. Just then Kong Jin's voice rang out, echoing through the hall. All eyes turned as the queen appeared, dressed in a gown of shimmering moonlight white. The blend of gold and pearls glowed softly against the fabric, perfectly complementing each other. Her golden hairpin and flowing train accentuated her noble elegance. Wherever she walked, ministers fell to their knees in awe, and even the envoys from the empire stood up in respect. Master Zhao, utterly defeated, was consumed by hatred toward Kong Jin. Out of spite, he spread secret rumors about the queen, claiming she was unfaithful. The king, enraged and misled, ordered Kong Jin to be arrested and accused him of treason. He was forbidden to make the royal dragon robe and sentenced to death under false charges. Not long after, Master Zhao was promoted by the king to the official position of 6th-rank court tailor. He finally achieved the power he craved, but lost the friendship he once cherished most. Outside, thunder roared as rain poured down, a sign of heaven's sorrow. From that day on, Kong Jin's artistry vanished from the world. The queen, too, lost her joy and vitality. The film ends by using clothing as a window into the soul, telling a story not just of beauty and craftsmanship, but of love, jealousy, and the quiet tragedy of an era.